Hello, everybody. It's Fiona Lukes here, coming to you live for my Friday live Q&A that I run every week at approximately this time. I am not in my normal office space today because I am in the middle of, I'm running a face-to-face 3-day intensive with a couple. We started yesterday and they're on a break at the moment, so I'm working with them outside of where I normally work from home, and so I'm coming to you live from that space. So the lighting isn't quite as great here and other things as what I have set up at home, but I wanted to make sure that I jumped on live for you today. So if you've just joined me live, as always, please say hello and let me know who's out there listening, watching. And let me know where you're from. Always like to know if someone is out there and can hear me and what you're doing. And it's always nice to know there are people at the other end of the live. So if you are watching, please say hi and let me know where you're watching from. So I know that I've had a few people. I haven't been running. I used to run a lot of these face-to-face couple retreats before COVID, before lockdowns, and obviously I haven't been able to run them for a long time, especially because I'm in Melbourne, and we were one of the most, or if not the most, not that it's a competition, lockdown city in the world. So I didn't trust that I could start running these things until recently. So it's been such a wonderful experience to be face to face with these guys and see the change, and it's such a privilege and an honor. So I thought I might run you through the background scenes of what goes on some of these things, because I know some of you be sitting there going, oh, what happens? What does she do? What happens? What does that look like? What is that? So I'm gonna chat a little bit about that today. Hi, Christian. Hi. Thanks for saying hi. I hope I just said your name properly. It's a beautiful name, and Australians have a habit of not saying those things so well. So I hope I've said your name properly, honey. Thanks for saying hi. Hey, Tanya. Hello, darling. Hello. Carly. Hello. Oh, you look beautiful, and so does your water. Oh, thank you. Gorgeous, lovely water is working for you. Thank you. Thank you, honey. Hi, Jason. Hello. Hi, Franca. Hi. Nice to see you. Thanks for saying hi. So I'm in, so where are we? Day 2 of this retreat. So this beautiful couple have come down to the Mornington Peninsula, which is where I live. They've rented out this gorgeous Airbnb overlooking the water. And we met up yesterday and spent a couple of hours together. And then they had 3 hours. I know you're probably sitting there going, why are they taking 3 hours? Because this isn't an information gathering exercise. This is insight-based change. And so we had this fantastic conversation that went for a couple of hours, and then they went to a beautiful winery and had a beautiful lunch, and then we came back and spent another couple of hours together yesterday, and believe you me, that's enough, more than enough. And so they've had a lovely evening together. They've come back today, and we've just had a fantastic morning, and they're off for their next break. And then we'll meet up again at around 2:30 this afternoon for a couple of hours, and then we will do this again. And each day I'm already seeing it from the very first conversation we had, and they were very shut down. She was very nervous and emotional. He was nervous as well. From the very first conversation, they are connected. It's just been amazing. It just so, we've still got some stuff to do, but they're so much more hopeful. They've had massive insights already, and they've realized they've already got a completely different understanding of each other. And what's been really interesting, and I was just saying to them then, because I'm helping them get to know each other from a new baseline. Okay, I'm helping them. We set a brand new baseline yesterday, and I'm helping them get to know each other from that baseline. And so what does that mean? It's funny, you think you have you've been in relationship with someone for years, and they've got grown-up kids, they've been in relationship for a long time, and they thought they knew each other, and they're actually learning. They're like, I'm learning something about my husband I didn't know, and he's the same. I did not know this. And so it's like they're learning, they're getting to know each other from a different level of connection. It's amazing how many people accept a very low baseline of connection, and that's the space they operate from, and that's the space they get to know each other from. And what these people are learning is a completely different baseline of connection. where they're actually truly feeling connected, and they're actually feeling good, they're enjoying each other's company, and of course from there the communication becomes much easier. But if you don't do this stuff first and you just focus on communication, you'll get nowhere. Communication is always a reflection of how you feel. Okay, communication is always a reflection of the level of connection. So if you don't work on that first and you don't create something new around that, you can talk about communication till the cows come home. It won't change anything. Okay, people will always communicate at the level at which they feel connected. All right, I'm going to say that again. People will always communicate at the level at which they feel connected. All right, and one of the things this couple is learning, and this is particularly what we were just focusing on this morning, is they're learning that it's not the words, it's the feeling behind the words, right? It's not the words, it's the feeling behind the words. Now, if you don't understand how to tap into that and you don't know where to look for the answer, you'll struggle because you'll think you have to find the right words. You don't need the right words when the feeling is there, okay? You don't. The words are nowhere near as important as the feeling. Yet people get really hung up on the words, and then they get hung up on saying the right words. And have you noticed that when you think about something and you focus on something and you're thinking about oh, what do I say to you? How do I do this? All of a sudden the feeling drops. And so this is what I was just showing them, right? They were having a conversation and I was showing them when the feeling dropped, and I said, this is why. And they're like, oh, that makes so much sense. I get it. Right. And now they're like, oh my God, this is really cool. They're like two little kids. It's like, I can really see how we can really change this, something that they've been stuck with for a very, very, very long time. So why am I sharing this with you? Because I want you to know relationships are much, much, much easier than you realize. You know, as I was saying to them, can you see how easy this can be? And they're like, yes, yes, yes. I said, human beings are not as complex as we think they are. All right. But when you understand what is going on and you bring that understanding into your interaction, it becomes very, very easy. Okay. And as these guys have seen, they felt like they're on opposite sides of the planet, but they're actually they both want the same thing. They both want the same thing. They've always both wanted the same thing. Okay. And now that they have a different understanding and they're connecting from a different baseline, boom, it's happening. And it hasn't been this horrific thing where they've had to go twist themselves inside out and look at all their problems and look at all their flaws. And no, we haven't done any of that, right? Nobody feels good when you look that way, right? I've talked about the humanness of our frailties, and everybody has frailties and how inherently human that is. But I haven't looked at him and said, your problem is this. And I haven't looked at her and said, your problem is that. Okay? We've looked at the humanness. And when you look at the direction of humanness and you look at, you can see the sameness, people relax. They don't feel so separate and stuck and frightened. They start to see, hey, we actually are the same. It's like, of course you are. You're a human, okay? Human beings are more the same than any of us truly understand. Anyway, so this has been a wonderful thing. I'm loving it. I'm like, oh, I haven't done this for so long. I really missed it because of the pretty extreme lockdown rules and laws we've had in Melbourne, and I really wanted to wait until things had really settled down, and I really only feel that has just happened in the last few months here. So I've had a lot of people inquire, and I'm like, oh, I just want to see that Melbourne's kind of got it together, and I feel like that we have. And so now I'm starting to do more of these things, and it's such a beautiful part of the world to come down. They're going to go and have a nice lunch and go for a walk along the beach, and there's this gorgeous estuary nearby, a boardwalk where I said take a walk through there, and they're just slowed down, they're connected, and they're taking time out of their lives. Okay, so taking time out, this has been a really important thing. He runs a really busy business, and I've said you're not to call your staff. I don't want you to, you're away, you're uncontactable. Okay. You're not to be checking emails. You're not like, this is really, you've got to make a promise and a commitment that you are going to take time out. And that's what they've done. And it's just been, just been wonderful. So that's what I'm doing. I'm in the middle. So we're halfway through of this. It's a 3-day, I run 3-day and 4-day retreats. I've done some work with these guys before they've come here. Okay, so I've taught them some stuff. We've done some work together over Zoom. We've done individual sessions, and it's because I want to make sure they're in a really good space before we get started. All right, so it's all about setting people up for success so they have a really great experience. a really great experience. And we don't have a great experience by looking at everything that's wrong and everything that's missing. Okay. Hey, Brenda. Hello from Maine. Hi. Thanks for saying hi and letting me know where you're from. Maine. I love it. Now, what time is it there in Maine, Brenda? Which are you? Eastern? Is that is that an Eastern time zone, or is that, I get very confused by the different time zones there? But let me know. But thanks for saying hi. That's so awesome. I love it. Anybody else who's watching and has just jumped on board, feel free to say hi. I'm just sharing with everyone. I'm in the middle of running a 3-day. I do 3 and 4 day couples retreats. I'm in the middle of running one with a couple right now, so they're out on a break, and so I'm not in my normal space. So I'm just giving you a behind the scenes peek of what actually goes on at something like this. Maine is Eastern. Oh, okay, awesome. Oh, hey, Susan, thanks for saying hi. Maine is Eastern. Okay, so that's probably about 10:30 your time. So wow. So thanks for showing up. And so is Florida. Okay, oh, love Florida. Not that I've been to Florida, so I sound like I've been there, but I have a lot of clients in Florida who tell me how beautiful and wonderful Florida is and how much they love it. And how warm it is and humid and all of those things. So it sounds like a gorgeous part of the world. Hi, David. Thanks for saying hi from New York. I love this. I love hearing where people are from. Thank you for telling me where you're from, guys. I really, really appreciate it. So if you've just tuned in, I am giving you a behind the scenes kind of little description, explanation of what goes on. Yes, I know New York. No, I do know New York is Eastern. Thanks, Susan. So everyone's everyone here's on an Eastern time zone from the States. Okay, cool. Because I know Eastern is 3 hours ahead of Pacific, isn't it? So I think it's around 7:30 Pacific there, 10:30 Eastern. Okay, it's good to know that this isn't too late for you guys in an Eastern time zone, because you're in daylight savings and we're in fallback, as you call it. So it gets a bit tricky around this time of year for me to make a time that works for everybody. But that's awesome. So so I'm just for those of you who've just tuned in, that's what I'm giving you a bit of a behind the scenes of what that looks like. And, because I know something like this could sound overwhelming and scary for people, but it has been anything but. All right. This is all about having you be in a good feeling and then seeing what makes sense there, setting this up beautifully so that people have a really great experience and they come out feeling hopeful and empowered, and they're seeing the possibilities and they're reconnecting, and it's not as hard as you think, and it doesn't have to be this intensive, awful, scary experience at all where people are screaming at each other, and it's not at all. I make sure that you guys are in a good space, or people are in a good space before they come here, and that this just takes everything to the next level, and they have some really, really important time out where they get to connect away from kids, away from work, away from the busyness of life. Because when we slow down, okay, when we're present, and I've really been teaching him how to do that, and he's seeing things so differently. It's like when you slow down and you're present, connection is easy. Okay, we're so busy-minded, us little humans. That's why we struggle to connect, and we don't realize how busy-minded we are, and we don't realize the impact that makes on the quality of our lives and the quality of our relationships, on how connected we are to everything. So, this is part of a big part of what I teach in my online relatable program, and a big part of my client work, because you got to know when you're present and when you're not. What these guys are learning is in a split second how you can go from choosing love to choosing fear, and you don't even realize it. And they're seeing it in a split second. So they're learning. So there's lots of aha moments going on, right? And so now they're seeing what they're doing. And so that's much easier for them to choose something else. But we haven't had to do lots of going back into the past, dissecting of each other, changing, having people feel like they've done something wrong. Not at all. Okay, it's completely unnecessary. All right, this is just teaching people how we work as human beings, and then how we can bring that together to create a whole new baseline. Annette, hi Annette, hello. Thanks for saying hi. I really appreciate it. I'm not sure if you've said hi before, so thank you. I'm nice to know that you're out there and you're listening. Yes, Christiane, we do struggle with being present so much. We really, really do. And you know what? It's easier than you think. It's easy, and it feels amazing. Amazing. Like, seriously, this is what these guys are getting a sense of. When you get a sense of the feeling of how good you can feel, you just want more of that. You just want more of that. Conflict doesn't look so interesting. Being right doesn't look so interesting. It's like, I just want more of that. Because it's win-win. I get to feel good, you get to feel good, and we're connected. Like, why wouldn't you? Maz, hey darling, hi Fee, can't hang around, but want to thank you for your ongoing support. Your work is truly amazing and life-changing. I envy the couple you're working with, experience this beautiful opportunity to learn and grow from your wisdom. Oh, thank you, darling. Thank you. That really means a lot, Maz. Thank you. Thank you. Really appreciate you taking the time to say that. I really, really do. Oh, you guys. So now that I've given you a bit of a background around that, if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask about, if you want to know more about what goes on behind the scenes, because I know a lot of people get curious about this stuff, and it's like, what actually happens? What do you do? How does it work? So it's not this really intense kind of thing. It's like having people feel more empowered and hopeful and look in a different direction, and then just going enjoying each other. All right, just enjoying each other. Simple, right? Easy. It is easy. I promise you, it's easy. It's not as terrifying or scary as you realize. Now, if you don't have a question about that and you have a question about something else, please feel free to ask me below. I'm here for the next, how much time have we got? I've probably got another 10, 15 minutes. So if you have a question that you want to ask me, jump on board and ask me now. If you want to know about the couples retreat that I'm running and how they work, or if you've got any other questions around it, you can ask me about that. This is a wonderful opportunity for people to step away from the busyness of their lives, to connect at a whole different level, and to actually get to know each other from a different level of connection. All right. Most people are connecting through a place of fear and judgment, and they don't even realize it. And so it's really hard to move past things when you're connecting from that place, because you take things personally. You're trying to fly. You're trying to avoid each other's frailties. You're trying to what's the word? Avoid an argument. So again, if you're choosing, I don't want to have an argument, or I'm nervous to say that because I don't know how the person's going to react, or just know you're choosing fear, you're not choosing love. As I said to these guys, and I say to all of you, one of the key things in creating change in your life, and I mean just in your life, let alone in your relationships, but in the quality of your life, is your ability to get over yourself, right? It's your ability to get over yourself. And this is something people struggle with massively. And I'm going to put both hands up. I couldn't get over myself at all. I couldn't. I was so self-righteous, and I was so judgmental, and I was so supremely arrogant. I couldn't. I'd get on my high horse and I'd be there for days. I love the fact that I can get over myself really quickly. And just the feeling of that in regards of how I feel about me, like, I feel proud of myself for that. I feel good about myself for that. Before, I was always beating myself up and making myself wrong because I would get so stuck in my insecurities, in my human frailties, which we all have. Okay. Carly, will you fly to Canada to do a retreat here? Yeah, for sure. For absolutely sure I would. For sure. 100%. 100%. Love Canada, and would absolutely do that in a heartbeat. Would especially now that our borders are starting to open up. Melbourne has been, or Australia has been, so locked down, but now that things are starting to open up, yeah, for sure. I can't even imagine what it'd be like to get on an airplane. It's been so long. It's crazy, huh? But yeah, for sure, absolutely. Hey Rose, hi, how's the hiking going? Your pictures that you sent me are amazing. How beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So what you were showing me was just wow. You guys have the most amazing national parks over there in the States. It's extraordinary. Christiane, we've had one of the busiest and most stressful years. I come to discussions with negativity and resentment over financial choices that we've made, even when we are planning ahead. How do I break through that mindset? That's a really, really great question, Christiane. A really, really great question. I guess there's a couple of different elements to that. Number one, I think one of the ways that we break through it is through understanding. Okay? Understanding is the leverage point for change. When you have understanding, there is no conflict. Conflict, and feel free to write this down if you want to, guys, because this is truth. What I'm about to say is truth. Okay? Conflict only exists in an absence of understanding. Okay? Conflict only exists in an absence of understanding. When you have understanding, there's no conflict. Okay? So the problem is that when there is conflict, what people are not looking to understand, they're not looking for understanding, they're looking for how they can win. Right? This is what happens in conflict. People are not looking for to understand, they're looking for how they can win. Now, when you realize that's what you're doing and you start to choose understanding, the conflict dies down, because you cannot create conflict with only one person. It takes two. Okay? So that's the first thing that I want to say, is that conflict only exists in an absence of understanding. And when you know where to look, when you know the pathway of understanding, then it becomes super easy. All right. Now, I know your next question is going to be, well, what's the pathway for understanding? All right. Great question. The pathway for understanding is understanding the operating system of a human being. Okay. Because our operating system is the same. My operating system is the same as anybody's out there. You could line me up with the Queen of England, wouldn't matter. My operating system is the same. Okay? I get that we express ourselves differently. I get that we have different likes and dislikes, but the operating system underpinning that is the same. So when you understand the psychological functioning of a human being, when you understand the operating system, all of a sudden you see the sameness between you and another person. You know how to navigate through your own thinking differently. You deal with your insecurities differently, or another word for insecurities. And please hear me when I say insecurities. This isn't that the insecurities are not a problem. They're not something you need to fix. There's something you need to know how to navigate, because insecurities are a part of being human. Everybody has them. I have them. We all have them. Okay. And the goal is not to eradicate our insecurities, is to work with them, is to feel less frightened of them. And so as you understand how to navigate your own, you navigate somebody else's with ease. Okay, you do, because you now have a different understanding of what's going on. You start to see things more impersonally. Correct me if I've got that wrong. Impersonally than personally. When you see things impersonally, and impersonally doesn't mean not caring, not whatever, it means seeing the sameness, okay? The sameness, the inherent humanness in us all. And when you start to view each other through that, understanding ensures. Okay, it's when we take things personally, when we get frightened, and we put meaning on things, that we lose our way. But see, what happens when you have an understanding of the operating system of a human being, when you know how to navigate your thinking differently, when you know how to navigate your own insecurities, or another word for insecurities would be your frailties. Everybody has frailties, okay? Can't afford your frailties. Everybody has them. Every single person has frailties. But what happens is people are either frightened or ashamed of their frailties, and so they don't navigate them very well when they pop up. They go into shame, guilt, blame, judgment, either of themselves or the other person, because they're in self-protection mode. Okay. And so they get frightened of their frailties. And so, of course, that's when conflict ensues. If you understand how to navigate your frailties, you can navigate anybody's. This is the really, really cool thing about what I teach. Okay. Is that when you understand the inherent humanness and there's sameness around that, then you have the pathway for understanding. All right. And then you can bring more understanding to something, because you're a lot more patient, because you're looking at it through the lens of frailties versus the lens of, oh my God, you never listen to me. What's the point of me even talking? Oh, you're always criticizing me. You never appreciate anything that I do. Okay. And so people just shut down, because in that moment, you're leading with your insecurities. So people have got to learn and understand, and anybody can learn this. Okay. Anybody. We tend to have the misconception that if you've had a traumatic, abusive childhood, somehow you can't learn this stuff. That's not true. That is not true. Okay? That's not true. You absolutely can. I promise you that. Your past does not have to dictate what you know in this moment of now. I promise you it does not. Anybody can learn this. And I think everybody, like, I wish everybody had this understanding. I think the entire world would change. I really do. Because we come from understanding. We come from patience. We come from love. Not all of the time. Like, I still yell at my husband. I still crack it with my kids. Crack it, sorry, that's an Australian term. If nobody knows that, I get angry with my kids or lose my temper. Okay. But I guess the difference is now I know how to get over myself. If I make a mess, like I become impatient with my kids or impatient with my husband, I clean it up really quickly, and I clean it up authentically. Most people aren't very good about cleaning up a mess. They leave a sticky residue behind and they don't even realize it. And then that sticky residue just builds and builds and builds and builds and builds and builds and builds. Right? And so when the sticky residue builds, it doesn't take much. You ever notice that if you walk on a floor and your feet stick and you're immediately irritated, aren't you? Someone spilled something, they haven't cleaned it up. Imagine that. That's the feeling that underpins things in our relationships. And then we wonder why we fly off the handle, or we wonder why we can't talk about the tricky stuff like our financial choices or how we plan ahead, because what's underlying it is a feeling of negativity, judgment, frustration, a lack of trust. So, what these guys have just been learning how to do is to rebuild emotional intimacy from a space of goodwill. Okay. But not by analyzing every single thing that's happened in the past. Okay. But by being able to, by being able to listen for the feeling they're in and moving that way. Now, when you're listening for the feeling, okay, and you're using the feeling as a guide, you're not analyzing what everyone's saying, and you're not sitting there thinking, I agree, I don't agree, blah, 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 which just sends people into an abyss, okay? And it has people become very adversarial and very positional with each other. And so it becomes about proving yourself, justifying yourself. Okay. When we're improving and justifying, just understand you're in your insecurities. You just are. That's how it is. I know a lot of you are going to find that triggering and say, yeah, but you don't understand what I have to deal with. And I get all of that. Really, I do. I used to think like that too. But, when you have this understanding, it's so freeing because you actually start to take ownership over how you're showing up and the space you're in and the energy you are in. And you realize how much power you have. This is what I'm just showing this couple. How much more power they have to influence change with each other than they ever truly understand. Now that they're starting to see that, I'm seeing both of them. They're laughing with each other. They're more playful and lighthearted. They walked out of here holding hands. One of the things that he had said to me was, she never shows me any affection. It's like, boom, there it is, right? It's not hard, guys. But as soon as you have a different understanding, because nobody wants to be in a feeling of judgment and upset and frustration. Nobody wants that. That's not where people want to be. It's not who people are, but it's where people go. Okay? It's not who people are, but it's where people go. And of course, they go there because they just get stuck. All right. That's why understanding is the leverage point for change. And once you have it, you take it with you everywhere. Right? You can't unsee this stuff. Once you know it, you can't unsee it. It's like once you know how something works, you don't forget, right? Once you learn how to drive a car, you don't forget how to drive a car. Once you know how to drive a bike, it doesn't matter, ride a bike. It doesn't matter whether it's been 15 years or 20 years, you know how to ride a bike. It's just one of those things that you don't forget. Christiane, when do you have retreats in Australia? Look, I used to run 3-day retreats once a year, every year, but because of what's happened, I haven't done that. I've had a lot of people asking me about that. So I feel like now I can, because there's so much planning, time and energy, etc., that goes into something like that, which I love, but I was so nervous that Melbourne would go into lockdown or Australia would go back into lockdown that I didn't want to plan it. But I feel like that is definitely something that I am going to start looking into. It'd be great if I could, fit one in before the end of the year. They just take quite a few months to organise, but I'm sort of, now that I'm definitely having a lot more people ask me. So all I'll say is at this stage, watch this space, because if I can make one happen by the end of the year, I absolutely will. We have the most wonderful experiences on these retreats. The last time that I ran one, we had around 70 people in the room, and it was just truly, I have no words for how beautiful an experience it was, and how connected we were as a group. And the difference with the way I run something like that is I do not pre-plan what's going to happen beforehand. I don't. I take some time at the start, and I take some time at the start, and I'll sit in the room and I will speak to what the room needs. And I will always check in and go, what does the room need? It's not about me. It's about what does the room need? And I will speak to what the room needs. And the room will always tell me. I can feel it in the energy of what the room needs, right? And I will just speak to that. That's how we run them. And it's awesome because people can feel it. They can feel that you're connected in. You're not running your agenda. You're speaking to what the room needs. And that's an ever-changing thing. So you just got to tune in. But people can feel it. Last time I ran one, I brought out this wonderful lady from the US and we ran it together, and people would come up going, how do you know? You just seem to know what we need. I was like, yeah, because we're actually actively tuning in and listening for what does the room need right now. And when you learn how to listen in and tune in, you know it, you can read it, right? Because we're all, and it's not an easy thing for people to understand, but we all share the same energy, right? And when you tune in, you feel it, you know it, you start to tune into the knowing, okay? Can I book my spot now, Tanya? I love it. I will certainly reach out and give you guys plenty of notice. I love it. It's so hilarious. Christiane, I'm showing to everything at the moment, negativity, negative. I'm showing up to everything at the moment negatively. Yeah, okay. This really helps. Maybe I need to tap back into Fiona. I'm really struggling with creating goodwill. Look, Christiane, I highly, if that's something you want to change, because honestly, honey, one of the things you don't realize is when you're in that, it's the feeling of it. You start to realize that you get used to feeling a certain way, and it's not good. Like, as in, it doesn't feel good. Like when I started to realize how good I could feel, and I mean a depth of presence and richness and connectedness. I'm like, I want more of that, because I was like you, honey. I was really tuned into all the negativity. And of course, what you don't realize is when you're showing up that way, when that's where you're tuned in, that's just what comes back at you. That's your mirror. That's what you get everywhere. When you start tuning into a different energy, you get a completely different thing mirrored back at you, because energy is like a magnet. It's a frequency. You've got to understand that. Everything is like that. This is why if you can't read your own energy, you don't know where to look. I know this might sound a little woo-woo, but it's not. I show you how to see this and know this very practically, okay? When you get a sense of that, boom, you start to realize what's going on. Your awareness expands, and then you get to choose something else, and it's much easier than you realize. So I teach all of this in my Relatable program, Christiane. I really do. And as Carly's saying there, which Carly's done it, have you looked into the Relatable program? Thanks, Carly. Changed her mindset so much and truly saved her marriage. And that's true. That's a true story. I actually have a podcast coming out. I'm hoping to get it released tomorrow, but I've still got a little bit of editing with Carly talking about her journey and what she learnt and saw. That's my next episode, which is due out very, very. It should have happened on Wednesday, but I've had a couple of other things going on. But I'll put the link to Relatable in the chat, Christiane. But if you're looking for those answers, it's in that program. All right. Okay, everybody, I have to fly, but I want to thank you again for tuning in and your comments and letting me know where you are in the world. I truly hope that this has been helpful. And if you have any questions, please send them to hello@fionalukis.com.au, and I will do my absolute best to answer them for you. All right. You can send them to me in advance, and I will then answer them for you live the next time I go live. But here is the link to Relatable. And yeah, have a great week, everybody. And I will see you next Friday. Ciao.